I'm Suzanne Piles, and this is Demystifying Holistic Healing. Today with me, I have Dr. Erin Kinney. She is a naturopathic doctor and the founder of the Kinney Clinic, which is an integrative medical practice in Annapolis, Maryland, focused on helping men and women recover their energy, balance their hormones, and heal chronic health conditions. She specializes in stress physiology and is known for her signature cortisol bank account framework. Dr. Kinney's the host of the Dr. Kinney Show podcast and author of upcoming book The Cortisol Cure, where she explores how resetting our stress response can restore energy and support long-term health. Dr. Kinney, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, so I met you at a woman's event held by Marsh Insurance, and you came out and you spoke about cortisol and your cortisol bank. And I was fascinated immediately, started Googling you and going to your website and signing up immediately for all of the things. But I can't wait for you to tell us a little bit more about your practice and your
Sure.
book and cortisol and all of the fun things.
Yeah.
So, how did you get started?
Sure. So, in my early 20s, I went from being a happy, healthy marathon runner to stumbling into a really deep depression. I gained 30 pounds in a very short period of time. My joints hurt. I was sleeping all the time and I was crying all the time. And I was 22 years old. And I finally dragged myself to the doctor after my friends and family were like, you need to go talk to somebody. And I sat down the doctor and before I even finished telling him my symptoms, he wrote me a prescription for depression medication and kind of sent me on my way. And I left that appointment so I felt so terrible. I thought there's got to be something physical going on. Like maybe I'm depressed, but why don't you want to run any labs or, ask me about what's going on in my life? And I was in therapy at the time and my therapist referred me to a naturopathic doctor. And she's like, "I'm not quite sure what he does, but I had lunch with him last week and I think maybe you should go talk to him." So I was like, "Listen, I'm desperate for anything other than medication." So I went and I spent about 2 hours my first appointment. He, asked me a bunch of questions. We talked about my diet, we talked about my menstrual cycle, we talked about my bowel movements, we talked about everything about me. Did I like what I was doing? He sent me for a full panel of blood work and hormone labs. And when the results came back, I was deficient in B12 and iron and zinc and pretty much all the B vitamins. And I also had really low cortisol, which I was like, well, that sounds odd. I thought cortisol was supposed to be low. Like, don't we want to suppress that? And he's like, well, no, it's one of the reasons why I think you're feeling depressed because you don't have enough cortisol. It's what wakes you up. It gives you energy. It keeps your brain focusing. Essentially, I had run my system into the ground. I had run, 7 marathons in a period of year. I'd become a vegan and I wasn't getting the nutrients and my body didn't have what it needed to make the neurotransmitters to keep me happy. So he put me on this fantastic protocol. And in about 2 months, I felt almost 80% better. I had lost weight. My joints stopped hurting. My mood was better. I was sleeping. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. I also, he talked to me because part of naturopathic medicine is looking at someone in the whole. We talked about, did I like what I was doing for my work? And at the time, I was working for my family business, which was industrial manufacturing. And I basically was in an office with a bunch of 60-year-old men, and I was 22 years old. And I lived in the middle of nowhere in Delaware. And I was like, no, I really don't like what I'm doing. It's not fulfilling me in any sort of way. So, we talked about that. And I ended up quitting my job, which caused some other issues because my dad was not too happy about that. But I left, I moved to DC, and I went to a headhunting company. I was like, you know what? I'm not sure what I want to do. Maybe you can help me find a job. I spent all day when they went to interview me, and they ended up hiring me to do recruiting. And I was like, oh, I never really thought about this. So I did recruiting. Loved it. I loved interviewing people. About 6 months in, my boss sits me down and she goes, I don't think this is the right job for you. And I looked at her and said, what do you mean? I'm doing a
We
great
just
job.
found my
Yeah, I thought you were good at this. I thought I was good at this. And she goes, well, I kept bringing her resumes and going, oh my gosh, listen to this story. This woman got lupus and she had to leave her job, or this woman's mother had cancer and she had to, and she goes, I love that you care about their health, but I don't really care. I want to know, can they do the job? I don't need to know the backstory of their medical history. And she goes, I think you might want to go into medicine. And I kind of sat with that for a minute. I ended up calling the doctor who treated me and I said, can we have lunch? I want to know, like, how do you get into this profession? And the funny thing is, this was like 25 years ago. He sat me down and he said, don't do this. He goes, it's going to be an uphill battle. No one is going to know what you do. They're going to think you're a quack and you're never going to be able to get a job. You're going to have to work for yourself. And, I'm an Aries. I'm always like I'm going to go against the grain. I was like, that sounds fantastic. Sign me up. So, and he left. He's still kind of a dear friend. So, anyways, I wanted to go back. I wanted to do what helped me. I wanted to be the type of doctor that like asked more questions and looked deeper and was like, hey, like, let's really understand why is your body exhibiting these symptoms. So, anyways, that's the long story of how I got into what I'm doing.
Well, thank goodness you did,
Yes. Yeah.
because I think what you are doing is what's missing in medicine
Yeah.
today, and it's one of the reasons that I reach out to every
Yeah.
like, I I will go to I go to my chiropractor before I go to my regular doctor,
Yeah.
even for a cold, because
Yes. He's got things he can help,
he knows how to
right?
fix it,
Yeah.
and he hears me, and
Yeah.
he gets it, and when I go to a regular doctor, they say, "It's a virus, it has to run its course." And they send you on your way with no help,
With no support. Yeah.
no support. I don't feel heard. I don't feel
Yeah.
helped, and
Yeah.
I stopped go plus, if you that's if you can get in,
Mhm.
it's just been really the regular medical practice is sort of falling short, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think there's a time and a place for Western or regular medicine, right? But I think for what so many of us struggle with, alternative medicine and other options are so much better. And, I think what you said is that you didn't feel heard. And I think that's the biggest thing I hear patients coming and they're like, oh my gosh, I've seen 15 different doctors and no one really took the time to sit and listen to me. Right. And I think that in itself is such an important part of healing. You want to feel heard. You want to feel like someone is actually looking at you as a holistic person, right?
Right,
As a whole being.
right,
And
and I have to tell you about the dizzy spell that I had, because that might
yeah,
have something to
to
do
do
with it,
with everything
and
else.
blood
Yeah.
clots,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
so you wanna feel like you have to tell that story so
Yes.
that they can put
Yeah,
all
they
the
can connect
pieces
the
together,
dots. Yeah.
and when you feel like they're not putting the pieces together, they're not connecting the dots, then you're like, "They're not
Yeah.
gonna
I need to
they're
find some
gonna send
space.
me for more
Right.
tests, and
Yeah.
for what?"
Yeah.
What advice
Mhm.
do you find you are giving them? So people come to you, they come to your clinic, I am I'm going to guess, but you tell me if I'm right. I think people come to your clinic when they have gone the traditional medical route and they haven't gotten
Mhm.
the answers. They don't feel heard. Nobody knows what's wrong. Nobody can tell me why I feel the way I do. They're prescribing a medication for me, but they don't really understand why my body's doing what it's doing. And so they're frustrated and they come to you to say, maybe you can help.
That is probably about half, like 50% of the people that come to us, spot on. The other half are people that are like, "Hey, I'm really interested. I would like to understand what's going on." Maybe they haven't seen 15 doctors and they kind of already have an interest in this type of healing. Probably 10 years ago, it was more of the former. People were like frustrated and, "Oh my gosh, you're my last resort." But I will say in the last 10 years, the uptick of people that are interested in diving deeper and looking for root cause medicine is a lot higher than it used to be, which is really great. It's been really cool to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what are the types of therapy and appointment that one would book with you.
Sure. So, we get a lot of people. Most of the patients that come to our clinic are dealing with fatigue, some burnout symptoms. They just don't feel like themselves, physically or mental emotionally. And they want to figure out why. They're not really interested in a band-aid type of approach. They're like, I really want to know, like, is it something I'm doing every day? Is it something I'm eating? Is it something that I'm not doing every day? Like, how can you help? And they're wanting to make changes to their lifestyle practices, right? And they want kind of some more natural options, like as opposed to medication. So, usually patients are coming in. We do like a really long intake. So we typically spend no less than an hour for our first intake. We really want to get to know like everything about you. Hey, what are your stress levels like? How's your sleep? What are your bowel movements? If you're female, what are your periods or what did menopause look like for you? What's your sex drive look like? How's your energy? So we really want to understand, like, I call them your body benchmarks. Like, how's your body
Yeah.
functioning? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then I'm like, based off of that, and we'll be like, well, how do you want to be feeling? Like, what's your goal? Like, is it, you want to be feeling clear and focused, or you wanting to lose weight, or you want to have a higher sex drive, or you want your hair to stop falling out? Like, we're really wanting to like help someone take their body from where they are now to where they would like to be. And so after that first conversation, we're gonna plan to send them for blood work. And typically we do a really long, like it's usually 15 to 20 pages worth of blood work because I want to test you. I want to look at hormones. I want to look at your thyroid levels. I want to look at your cortisol levels. I want to look at all your nutrients. I want to look at inflammatory markers. We also screen for what we call stealth pathogens. So things like Lyme disease or Epstein-Barr virus, things that are like, they're not going to make you acutely sick, but they kind of like slowly steal your energy and your resources. And we unfortunately diagnose quite a bit of Lyme disease. And a lot of women come in their, 40s and they're like, oh, I'm struggling with sleep. I'm having hot flashes. I have brain fog. I can't remember things and my joints hurt. And they're convinced it's hormones. And sometimes it is, but sometimes they have Lyme disease and we have to treat that. And once we treat that, they get better. So we want to unturn like all possible causes for what their body is dealing with. Right. And then we have them come back and we kind of go over the labs and then we come up with a plan. And our plans are always going to include, a lot of people are like, they kind of know that maybe something they're doing every day is not quite right for them. They might be like, oh, I'm staying up till 1 in the morning. I'm on my phone. But I think they need someone to, like, reinforce, "Yeah, we really need to change your bedtime routine. We really need to get you off the phone," or, "We need to exercise in a different way that's gonna work for your body," and so they're wanting to make those changes, right?
Right. They need
Um
someone to hold them accountable.
yeah, so, and we do we do a lot of coaching around that, the lifestyle stuff, and then, if someone is deficient in, like I was, in, like, B12 and vitamin D and iron, those things, we're gonna put them on those nutrients at the dose that's appropriate for where their levels are. And then, we talked offline earlier just about herbal medicine. I love herbal medicine. It could be fantastic. So sometimes if someone's coming in, for a condition where there is a medication that could work, but it's got a lot of side effects, we might be like, oh, hey, let's use this herbal medicine instead so we don't have to deal with the side effects. So that's kind of that. And then obviously, I know we're going to talk about this later, but um, for women in perimenopause and menopause or men in andropause, if their hormone levels are low, we do HRT. So we do hormone replacement therapy in the practice.
Okay,
So those,
hold on.
yep.
Pause.
Do you not want me to say that?
Menopause and what?
Andropause.
What's andropause?
It's men's version of menopause.
Men can get menopause. It's
Yeah,
called
it's
andropause.
called andropause. It's
And
when
I
men's testosterone starts to decline. So yeah, it's a whole other thing. So men,
whole other thing.
it's not
We have another episode on that.
yeah, it's not quite as problematic as menopause is, say, for women, but typically in 50s and 60s, men's sex hormones start to decline as well, and they will start to notice changes. It's not as talked about as much, but it is
Do they
also a
struggle
thing.
to sleep through the night too?
And not as much
And
men.
they don't get hot flashes either.
They don't get hot flashes. That's mostly an estrogen thing. But some men can have sleep disturbances because testosterone is super important for sleep. Mostly for men, it can be weight changes or difficult with muscle mass or joint pain. It can be like difficulty getting an erection or maintaining an erection or low sex drive. It can be a lot of like memory, brain fog stuff, energy. So a lot of other. Some of it we think of it as aging, but it usually is because of the decline in testosterone for men. Um, so yeah, so we treat at this point we treat a lot of men. I didn't used to, but men have been coming out of the work. Men are like all about this. They're like, hey, I want to feel as best I can,
Yeah.
right? And so I want to optimize. So we get some of our patients that come in, they feel fine, but they want to make sure they keep feeling fine. So we have a portion of our population that come in and they're like, listen, I don't really have too many symptoms, but I want to keep it that way. I want to run my levels. I want to get a baseline. I want to know what can I be doing, for a female, like through menopause so that I don't have all these symptoms. And for men, like, how can I ensure that I don't have andropause type symptoms?
Yeah.
So, some of the stuff is preventative that we're doing as well. So that's kind of what the visit looks like or visit types look like. We also offer a lot of services so we offer IV therapy, we offer hyperbaric oxygen therapy, which is increasing your oxygen. So you get in this little chamber and normal oxygen, we call it like 1 atmospheric pressure. This gets up to like 1.5 or 2 atmospheric pressure. It's fantastic for brain fog. It's great for muscle recovery. We treat a lot of patients with Lyme disease in there. You can do it for, burn
What does
recovery.
that do for my body?
So for a lot of people, like what they'll tell us clinically is they'll say, "Hey, after I get out of there, my joints hurt less, I can think clearer." It's hyperperfusing the body with oxygen. So oxygen is what gives cells energy. So if you put yourself in a pressure where you get more oxygen, all your cells are going to suddenly have more energy. So that's kind of like at a baseline level, kind of what it's doing. And then we have red light therapy in our clinic as well, which similar thing. The red light, it's going to penetrate into the cells and red light, when it stimulates the cells to make more ATP, which is the unit of energy inside the cell. So it's going to make your cells do what they're supposed to do more efficiently. So a lot of people use it for skin healing. It reduces wrinkles, depending on the wavelength. So there's certain red light therapies which are between 630 and 670 wavelength and nanometers of wavelength. That's more. It only goes in about 2 to 10 millimeters in the skin. So that's going to be more skin and like superficial healing. When you go to the stronger wavelengths, like I think it's between like 810 and 890, those wavelengths are going to get more into the muscles and can help with like muscle repair, joint aches, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So yeah, red light therapy is it's a fantastic. We have like a bed. It feels like you're in a tanning bed, and it
Okay.
feels warm and it's really nice. We patients we use
So
that a
what
lot.
is the difference between that and a red light sauna?
So a red light sauna, usually the red light in a sauna is going to be like a far or near infrared sauna, and so that's going to have the higher wavelength that I mentioned.
That's gonna be good for your skin.
It's gonna be good for your skin, but it is also gonna get into the muscles and help with joints. So usually when they put it in a sauna, it's gonna be more for joint pain, muscle pain,
Okay.
overall like healing in general. It's
Do
still gonna
you
be good for your skin.
worry about overuse of that? Like, I remember, like, tanning beds, it was a whole big thing because that was UV rays,
Yeah.
but
So red light does not have any UV therapy.
okay,
So
there's
it's
no
not
UV.
it's not gonna be no UVB. So it's not gonna harm the skin. It's not gonna put you more at risk for cancer or developing
Okay, so
things like that.
you don't have to worry if you stay in it for 30 minutes instead of
Yeah,
20
no, you
minutes, you'll
can.
be okay.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
In
good to know.
in the red light saunas, now saunas are fantastic. I used to tell patients, I'm like, saunas, you don't want to do a sauna every day, every other day, because saunas will cause you to detox, and detox is like cleaning out your house. You don't want to be constantly cleaning out your house. Your house would never be clean, right? Because there's constantly be stuff that you're pulling out. So you want to like sauna, then give the body a break, and then sauna again, kind of thing. But red light
Okay,
therapy can be used every day
okay,
in a
that's
very
good to
safe.
know. We are the reason I asked is we're looking to put a red light sauna
Yes.
in our fitness center
Yes.
in this building when we build it out.
They're
So,
fantastic.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
and you
hopefully
feel really good for joint
definitely.
pain. So many people feel so amazing after doing a red light or an infrared sauna for joint pain. It's really fantastic.
Awesome.
Highly recommend doing that.
All right. So how would I book an appointment? I know this, but I want the listeners to hear.
Oh, sure.
If I'm booking an appointment, if I wanted to come and just do an IV therapy or
Mhm.
infrared light
Yeah.
therapy, can I do that without going through the whole intake process, or do you
Those services you
go?
can come anyone can come and use those. So we have people that come and get IV therapy and that's all they do. We have people that come and use the hyperbaric and that's all they do.
Okay.
There are certain IV treatments that we won't do unless we've seen labs. Could be through us or could be from someone else. We do a lot of high dose vitamin C IV drips,
Okay.
which are fantastic for antiviral. If you're struggling with cancer, they can help with that. But there's a couple of genetic markers we have to test. So we won't do those unless the patient has brought us labs. And again, we can do them or they can bring them from somewhere else. But
Gotcha.
yeah.
That's fabulous. Tell me a little bit about you have your own podcast.
Mhm,
You are writing a book. You've started your own clinic.
mhm.
I am personally excited about your book. I
Thank
know
you.
it's not coming out for a little bit.
Yeah,
It's a little ways off, but your whole concept and thought behind
sure.
the cortisol bank.
Yeah. You wanna
You
talk about
want
that?
to?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I use this analogy throughout the book's called The Cortisol Cure, and it comes out in September. So if you're listening to this after September, it's out and you can go order it. If it's before September, you can pre-order it now. It's on all the places you could pre-order a book. So in the book, I talk about having this cortisol bank account. I like to think of cortisol as being the currency that your body uses to spend on things. So it's what wakes you up in the morning. It actually is your body's natural form of prednisone. So it's a major anti-inflammatory molecule in the body. And it helps keep your brain clear and focused. So important, we want to have cortisol. So when you rest or you sleep or you do anything that activates what we call your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the part of your nervous system that's like chill and relaxed, that's when your body is earning cortisol. And we see this, you can easily see this if you're at your computer, you can Google circadian rhythm, cortisol and their circadian rhythm, and you'll see cortisol is usually at its highest in the morning. It's what wakes you up in the morning. And then as we go throughout our day, we spend the cortisol and it goes low. And then throughout the night, your cortisol levels will start to rise. So basically, it's like a bank account and you earn while you're sleeping and during the day you spend it. And so the book looks at, all of the different ways that, your body will spend cortisol. And when cortisol levels get really low, a couple things happen. One, the first thing the body will do is if your cortisol account is low, and maybe this is because you've spent a long time in more of a stress state and you weren't sleeping as much as you should have been, or you can be going through all kinds of things. But we're going to look at like when it gets low, the body will first be like, okay, I have to do something. I've got to wake up. I have to go to work, but I don't have any money in my account to spend on these stressors. The body will say, well, we don't have any cortisol, but we'll just make some extra adrenaline, and the adrenaline will give me energy. Now, adrenaline will give you energy, but it gives you like that cheap, tired but wired energy. Like I've had 15 Red Bulls and I stayed up all night, which you're going to have energy, but you're going to make mistakes. You're not going to feel good. Your heart might be racing. And a lot of people will blame high cortisol on heart palpitations or not sleeping through the night. It's typically high adrenaline that will do that to you. So when your cortisol count is low, the body again will overcompensate by making more adrenaline and you tend to not feel very good. The second thing that the body will do, because you can only run for so long on that adrenaline because it doesn't feel good, the body will say, well, okay, this account is low over here, but I have these sex hormones, this progesterone, estrogen, and testosterone in a female, or a little bit of estrogen and testosterone in a male. And your sex hormones are molecularly very, very similar to cortisol. I like to call them your savings account. So if your main checking account is low and you still have to spend energy, the body will say, well, let me steal from that testosterone over there. So then you'll have cortisol in your cortisol account, but you don't have testosterone or you don't have progesterone or you don't have estrogen. And so particularly during midlife, perimenopause, menopause, and andropause, symptoms can get exponentially worse if your cortisol count was low and then you're stealing from your already declining savings account. So that's the book dives into that, and it looks at how that affects sleep, how that affects energy, how that affects your mood, how that affects your bowels, how that affects your sex drive. So it kind of looks at just how this cortisol account is going to have an impact on how your body works. So it's a cool read. I share a lot of personal stories. I share a ton of patient stories, and it's very accessible. And the practices that I teach, most of them are free. They're things you can do to kind of regulate your nervous system and put more cortisol into your account. And they're easy things to do. Or let me say, they're simple things to do. Not always easy because you might have to change some lifestyle stuff, but they're pretty like accessible practices.
I like just take a 10-minute walk outside.
Take a 10-minute walk outside. It's great. Yeah. Get out of the like rat race. Or I mentioned at that event we met at, to take 10 minutes after your 10-minute walk and lay flat for 10 minutes. When you lay flat, it signals the body to lower the heart rate, to lower the blood pressure. And it just is like, the body's like, oh, I can take a minute and like recharge myself. So, we live in this crazy hustle, burnout world where we glorify productivity. And, a lot of us feel guilty when we're not doing. And so myself included, I've burnt out, multiple times. I shared about my first one, but I've repeated different things and had other burnouts at other points in life. And I've had to tell myself, hey, if I want to keep up doing all the things I like doing, because listen, I run a clinic, I wrote a book, I have a podcast, I have 5 children, ages 9 to 14. So, you know, my life is busy, as most of our lives are, right? But if I'm coming at that life from if my account is low and I have nothing to spend, I'm going to feel terrible. I'm going to be a terrible mother. I'm going to be a terrible partner. I'm not going to be nice to my employees. And I'm not going to do my best for my patients. Right. So to me, like resting, it's essentially like earning money. You have to earn money if you want to spend money. Right.
Yeah.
And so, if your spend is high, I just feel like it is a nicer way to look at stress. It's like instead of being like, oh, lower your stress, manage your stress, which I still don't even know what does that mean when someone
Right.
is like, "Manage your stress."
I still have to go to work, so
Yeah, so you can't quit your job, you can't get rid of your children, right? Like,
right.
right? So it's like, "Hey, we'll just look at, hey, we wanna make sure we have enough in the account to handle all the things we wanna do."
Right. So making sure that you make time to
Yeah.
refill it.
Yes, yes. So, I just actually found out the book is getting published in, like, 15 other languages at this point. It's really exciting. I think
I
I
am
think it's
excited
gonna
for
land
the
really well.
book.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
really am.
yeah.
So thank you so
You're
much
welcome.
for this. And yeah, if you get the chance, look up the Kinney Clinic, and I'm sure many of you will be signing up. We'll put the link to the Kinney Clinic in our notes below. So take a look, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for
Thank
listening.
you.
Thanks so much for watching. Thanks to my guest for being here. And please let us know in the comments if there's anything else that you guys want to hear about.